Yo, yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. But today, as you can see by the thumbnail or title or whatever I ended up titling it, we're talking about compression. I don't know. This is like something that I've been doing way more recently, like the last 2 months probably. I would say I've been compressing way more. I do understand when stuff is too compressed. I would say that. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, also understanding when it's a stylistic choice and depending on the genre as well, which is going to play a huge part. Um, you just want to make sure you're not over compressing shit. But I feel like that the amount of compression that I've been doing to my tracks on purpose is a more, I would say, like stylistic choice, but also, just a way to get a little bit more energy out of samples, just because I'm mixing a lot more songs with, less live tracks, I guess I would say. So I'm just trying to get as much energy and, I don't know, more character out of the samples, just because I think, with especially with the splice stuff, let's talk about the splice stuff, because my last video was on the splice stuff. And I've personally been using a little bit more just because it's integrated, so it's a lot more easier for me to use. A lot of the samples that are being put on Splice are already super processed for the most part. And there are some that are feel like you could use a little bit more processing, but maybe that was up to the person or team or whatever making the samples, where they didn't want to over compress, they didn't want to over EQ, too much effects, whatever the case is. If you can find the sweet spot and understand when it's okay to compress a little bit more to get energy, or maybe get a little bit more room out of a snare or whatever. Let me just show you, because I don't know, maybe I'm not making any sense. So yeah, this is actually a good example. So here's without the compressor. It sounds super clean, whatever, not overly compressed on its own, basically. But now with the compressor, that kick is coming up, the toms or bongos or whatever the hell they are, is, just a little bit more exciting. It just sounds like there's some movement to it. And then, like I said, if you assuming that these are samples that are smashed together to make this loop, you're getting a little bit of more. You can hear those chops in the loop, assuming that there was some room noise within those samples themselves. So I don't know. I just always think that stuff like that just adds a little bit more character to the loops. And like I said, compression is a really good way of doing that. And then just overall, I mean, even the pianos. So yeah, for instance, this is a good example of what I was saying earlier. This is definitely a little bit over compressed. Maybe I should come back on the compression a little bit. But like I said, if you can do it in a way where it sounds like it was on purpose and not sounding like, oh, they just over compressed, they don't know what they're doing. This is more of a, advanced hearing, situation. It just sits better in the track when the compressor's in. It's just kind of keeping in its place. It's doing its thing. Like I said, it's like that, slightly over compression is adding, some, I don't even know how to explain it. I keep saying character, but that's just the word that I always think of when I'm trying to achieve what I'm doing with this, if that makes sense. Let's just do the bus compression. And I've said this in past videos, I hate the word glue, but for this, it is a good example of this compressor is just, gluing the track together. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you can hear that. if there were vocals in this, it would be a lot more, I think, a lot more easier to hear too, because the way that, I've been mixing the last, I would say, like at this point, probably like 4 months. It's just now that I've been doing individual amounts of compression, we'll just call it a little bit over compression on each track, which is the new part. But just as far as the mix bus goes, I have been compressing just a little bit more, and it's just like, and that's just me, getting used to compression finally and understanding that it's okay to add a little bit more. And you know, if you understand it, it's okay to just compress a little bit heavy handed, because I just think that's what also makes records sound the way they do. Like the really good records, you know what I mean? The ones that are also timeless and stuff. If you can kind of just break everything down as you're listening to the tracks, you'll hear that there's, a good amount of compression or whatever. That's it. That's the video. Hopefully this makes sense. Uh, Maybe I could have explained a little bit better if I could. If there's anything that I need to go a little bit more in depth in, let me know, obviously, in the video below. I don't think I've made a compression video like this before. I think I've just made videos on compression, but not as far as like an advanced technique. Um, but yeah, let me know if this was helpful at all. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video, and I appreciate you if you made it this far. And yeah, peace.